do you have my eyes?
Kim Ji-soo had just arrived the old neighborhood that shaped his 5 years in the university. He never thought he would be back here after 7 years. Everything was the same, the well-lawned grasses, the identical buildings which were slowly going out of style, the peace it brought, which was one of the reasons he had always come here. That reason after this neighborhood was where his best friend, Brian Brooks, lived. He had insisted that he stayed in his apartment for the university reunion, and Ji-soo jumped at the idea. One of the things he didn't envisage was a little boy with his eyes and face playing with a paper airplane, and behind him, a girl now woman who he had long believed his heart had stopped aching for. Still as beautiful as he last remembered, just with a shorter hair and a more mature face. When he saw her, his whole world stopped. She was late to work, her coat half-buttoned, coffee burning through the paper cup in her hand, when a little boy ran across the yard chasing a paper airplane and stopped cold in front of a stranger who had his exact same eyes. That stranger was the man who didn't know he had a son. And the boy had no idea his entire world was about to change. Stay with me, because this story, it is not what you think it is. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, pull up a chair, you're going to want to be comfortable for this one. And before we dive in, hit that subscribe button. Seriously. You do not want to miss what's coming in the next few minutes. Drop a comment and tell me, where in the world are you watching from right now? I want to know. Now, let's go back 7 years. Kim Ji-soo is 23 years old and entirely too sure of himself. He walks through life the way expensive cologne fills a room, uninvited, overwhelming, and somehow everyone turns to look. He is the son of one of Korea's wealthiest families, studying business in America. And he has never once in his life woken up worried about rent or groceries, or whether someone would still be there by morning. He doesn't know what any of those worries feel like. You will learn. His best friend at university is Brian Brooks. Brian is 6 feet of stubborn loyalty, the kind of man who argues with professors and volunteers at food drives on the same Saturday. Ji-soo has never met anyone like him. Brian doesn't care about Ji-soo's money. Doesn't care about the car or the penthouse apartment or the revolving door of women Ji-soo keeps pretending don't mean anything. Brian simply looks Ji-soo in the face and says, "You're smart and you're wasting it." And somehow instead of walking away, Ji-soo laughs and stays. Brian practically raised his younger sister after their parents fell apart. Their father relocated to Boston. Their mother, swallowed by depression, moved to Arizona. Neither parent was cruel. They were simply too broken to be present. So Brian dropped out for a year, worked double shifts, and rented a small apartment near campus where they could live together. Leah was 12 when the family cracked open. By 19, she could cook a full meal, stretch a grocery budget to the last dollar, and smile so convincingly that most people never noticed she was holding herself together with her own 2 hands. She is quiet in the way that rivers are quiet, still on the surface, moving fast underneath. Ji-soo becomes a fixture in their apartment. He raids the refrigerator. He loses spectacularly at video games with Brian and pretends he let him win. He teases Leah about her oversized glasses and calls her Little Bean, with the lazy affection of someone who doesn't realize that's a nickname she'll carry in her chest for years. And here is the thing about Ji-soo, the thing that undoes Leah slowly and without warning. In moments where he thinks nobody is watching, he is kind. He fixes the broken kitchen chair with a borrowed screwdriver and a YouTube tutorial, then says nothing about it. He brings Leah's favorite snacks on rainy evenings, framing it as Brian wanted them. But Brian doesn't even like those. He sits with her through a difficult exam week and quizzes her for 3 hours when he could be anywhere else doing anything else. He remembers her birthday when Brian forgets, when their father forgets, when the world forgets, and shows up with a cupcake and 1 candle and the worst singing voice she has ever heard in her life. She doesn't fall in love with the version of Ji-soo that everyone sees. She falls in love with the version he shows by accident. It happens over years. Slow. Quiet. The way light shifts in a room, you never catch the exact moment the afternoon becomes evening, but suddenly everything is different. He is graduating soon. She knows it. The countdown lives in her chest like a bruise she keeps pressing. Then comes the rainy night that changes everything. Brian is working late. Ji-soo stays. They cook ramen on a 2-burner stove with the rain knocking against the windows, and somewhere between the second bowl and a movie neither of them is actually watching, they stop pretending. Ji-soo admits things he has never said out loud. That he doesn't know what he wants. That his family measures love in achievements and he has forgotten what the other kind feels like. That Brian is the first real friend he's ever had. Leah admits she has been in love with someone for a long time. When Jisoo realizes she means him, the air in the room becomes something else entirely. One kiss. One night. In the morning, Jisoo wakes up and the panic arrives before anything else. He looks at Leah still asleep and sees a future forming, clearly, specifically, and it terrifies him. Not because of her. Because of himself. Because he knows, somewhere quiet in the marrow of him, that he will ruin it. That he ruins everything. So he pulls away before she can see it happen. He is careful about it. Polite. Distant in the specific way that keeps people from asking follow-up questions. He stopped. Stopped coming when Brian was not around, stopped exchanging glances with Leah, stopped fixing creaking doors or bringing snacks over. Leah noticed, but she made excuses for him. He was tired. Final year exams were taking a toll on him. He was sick till she ran out of excuses to make for him. She found herself asking Brian when Jisoo was coming over. At first, he raised his brows and she immediately made an excuse of him holding an item of hers. This was because Brian had been so protective of her and Brian together was something he would never allow. And his reasons were valid. Giving the number of girls that enter his dorm room or the others that they discussed about in their living room. The ones that swooned at his dimple and his gray eyes. She never knew she would run into one of those girls one day. 2 weeks later, Leah finds out she is pregnant. She mustered up courage to tell him. She had found his address from Brian's phone and he went that Sunday morning. She had lied to Brian of having menstrual cramps, therefore she couldn't follow him to church that day. Then she goes to his dorm to tell him. She practices the words the whole walk over. She is not angry. She is not demanding anything. She just wants him to know, because he deserves to know and because she still, against every reasonable instinct she has, trusts him. She knocks. The door creaks opens and Jisoo is there, laughing at something, and beside him is a girl, beautiful, at ease, leaning in the way people lean when they're comfortable. She overheard their conversation. Don't you have something with Brian's little sister? What? Leah? Yeah, the cute little one. The girl replied, almost laughing. No. She's just Brian's little sister. Nothing more. Besides, she's a minor. Oh. The girl gasped apologetically. I didn't know that. She's cute, by the way. Nah. I've never looked at her that way. Can we stop talking about her? You're ruining this moment. That's it. Leah's face does not change. She is very good at keeping her face from changing. It's a skill she developed at 12. She says she knocked on the wrong door. She smiles. She leaves. She walks all the way home without crying, which is the hardest thing she has ever done. Jisoo graduates 2 weeks later. He flies back to Korea. He never reaches out. Neither does she. The baby grew inside of her. She lied to Brian about who the father was. It was easy to deceive Brian because he was always so busy with being a provider to pay attention to the inconsistent flow of Leah's cheap lie. He comes into the world with gray eyes and a left cheek dimple and an expression of absolute seriousness that makes the nurses laugh. He is the most demanding, most exhausting, most extraordinary thing that has ever happened to her. Brian drives through the night to be with her and then walks in and holds his nephew in tears and says, "He looks like trouble," which is the highest compliment Brian knows how to give. They gave him the name Noah because his eyes looked like the sea and it reminded them of the Bible character in the flood. Brian becomes Noah's other parent without being asked. And Noah grows. Gray eyes that catch light from across a room. A laugh that starts in his stomach. A gentleness unusual in 7-year-old boys. He tends to wounded things, stray cats and broken toys and classmates sitting alone. He asks complicated questions at inopportune times. He makes up songs while brushing his teeth. He is the best and the most specific thing Leah has ever created, and she would tear the world apart for him. The more he grew, the more he takes Jisoo's features, and it scared her. She has made peace mostly with raising him alone. Peace is not the same as happiness, but it's livable. It's enough. And then, Jisoo comes back. He arrives on a Thursday afternoon for his university alumni reunion. He and Brian had maintained such a strong relationship over the years, and even if Jisoo asked after her, she didn't know. Brian insists Jisoo stay at the house. Jisoo agrees because Brian is one of the few people in his life he has never been able to say no to. He is 30 now. The spoiled boy has been replaced by something more composed. tailored dark coat, easy authority in his posture, the quiet of a man who has learned to make rooms adjust to him rather than the other way around. His family's company is now a global technology empire. He has everything that was promised to him and a few things he didn't expect, like insomnia and a specific hollowness he can't seem to fill with success. He pulls up in a hired car. And before he even gets the door fully open, a paper airplane clips the side of his head. He looks up. A small boy is running across the yard toward him to retrieve it, and Jisoo catches the airplane before it hits the ground and hands it back, and the boy looks up at him. Gray eyes. Left cheek dimple. Jisoo goes very still. The boy tilts his head. You're fast, he says seriously and takes his airplane and runs back toward the house. Jisoo stands in the driveway holding nothing. Then Leah steps outside. She stops on the porch steps. For 3 full seconds neither of them breathes. 7 years of silence standing right there between them on a perfectly ordinary Thursday. And then Noah calls from inside the house. Mom, can Uncle Brian make spaghetti tonight? And Leah turns to answer him and Jisoo watches her face when she does. And something in him, something old and buried and honestly a little broken, quietly cracks open. But wait, here's where it gets interesting. Jisoo hasn't asked about the boy yet. He's convinced himself those gray eyes are coincidence. Lighting. His imagination. Or maybe he had forgotten the night they shared together or he didn't want to believe it. Leah didn't know. Leah beam? He joked, but she didn't respond to that enthusiasm. She wondered if she saw his face in Noah, what went through his mind at that particular moment, but Jisoo held it in so well. He goes inside and meets Brian's smile and the handshake that becomes a hug and Brian says, "You look tired," and Jisoo says, "I'm always tired," and it's the most honest thing he's said in years. Leah makes dinner. She does not look at him directly once. And Noah climbs into the chair next to Jisoo at the dinner table, uninvited, without explanation and says, "Do you like model airplanes?" Jisoo looks at this 7-year-old boy with his own face and says, "Yeah, I do." "Good," says Noah, and picks up his fork. Tell me in the comments, do you think Jisoo knows? Or is he still lying to himself? Because what's coming next? Nobody saw it coming. And don't forget to subscribe. The first morning Jisoo wakes up in Brian's house. Noah is already sitting outside his bedroom door with a model airplane kit in his lap and the patience of someone who has decided to wait however long it takes. Jisoo opens the door. Looks down. Looks at the kit. Looks back at Noah. Brian said you build things, Noah says. Jisoo has 15 emails waiting, a call with Seoul in 40 minutes, and a headache sitting behind his left eye. He sits down on the floor. They build the model airplane for 2 hours. Noah does not rush. He reads the instructions twice before starting each step, which is a habit Jisoo has never had but immediately respects. When a small plastic wing snaps slightly wrong, Jisoo expects tears, but Noah simply says, "We fix it," and reaches for the glue with the confidence of someone who has repaired things before. Jisoo watches his hands. Small hands. Methodical. Patient. He doesn't let himself think about what he's watching. Jisoo's reason for staying past the reunion is a business deal he mentions to Brian over coffee. Something involving an American tech firm, early-stage negotiations, completely legitimate. Brian nods. Doesn't push. Leah overhears from the kitchen and stirs her tea for longer than tea requires stirring. She knows. She doesn't know what she'll do about it yet. The first time Jisoo walks Noah home from school, it isn't planned. He happens to be leaving the hardware store. Brian needed a new wrench set. Jisoo offered to go. When he spots Noah outside the school gates, backpack straps adjusted wrong, trying to fix them himself in the methodical way he does everything. Jisoo crosses the street. Noah sees him and his face does something uncomplicated and wonderful. Mr. Jisoo. They walk home together. Noah talks constantly. He is currently learning about black holes and he has strong opinions. He believes the universe is probably conscious. He also believes that spaghetti bolognese is the greatest human achievement, which Jisoo agrees with, and this agreement seals something between them that neither can name. Jisoo listens. That's the thing nobody notices at first, he listens now. The old Jisoo spoke over people. This version actually stops and waits and follows the thread of what someone is saying until he understands it. Leah notices. She is watching from the kitchen window when they come up the path, and Noah is demonstrating something with his hands. the size of Jupiter probably, or the approximate distance between galaxies, and Jisoo is nodding with complete seriousness. She turns away before either of them sees her. Here's where things get uncomfortable. A woman named Ava Mitchell, the same woman Jisoo was with 8 years ago in his dorm room, where she overheard their conversation. The worst day of her life. She arrives midway through the second week of the reunion events. She is everything she was in university, sharp, beautiful, perfectly assembled, the kind of woman who enters a room and immediately identifies its most interesting person. The most interesting person this time is not Jisoo. It's Noah. She notices the boy the way someone notices a painting that looks familiar, that pull of recognition before you remember where you've seen it. She watches him across the garden during a casual alumni gathering, and then she looks at Jisoo and then back at the boy. She asks Jisoo quietly with that lawyer's precision she spent a decade sharpening, "Are you sure you don't know that child?" Ji's hand tightens around his glass. "He's Brian's nephew." "Right," says Ava. She takes a slow sip of her drink. "He has your eyes." Jisoo says nothing. Ava doesn't push. She has learned that silence is always louder than argument. That night Jisoo sits in the guest room with his phone and pulls up old photographs. His university ID. A picture from Brian's birthday 5 years back. A family portrait his mother sent for the holiday card. Him at age 8 with his father's gray eyes looking directly into the camera. Then he pulls up the photo he took of the model airplane, the one Noah insisted on posing with, the one where Noah is grinning so wide his left dimple looks like a comma. Jisoo puts the phone face down on the bed. Sits with his hands on his knees. The room is very quiet. He finds Leah alone the next morning. She's in the back garden hanging laundry. There's something almost deliberately peaceful about the way she does it. Each item shaken out, smoothed, clipped carefully. Like she's performing calm. "Leah." She doesn't turn around. "Jisoo. I need to ask you something." "I know what you're going to ask." He waits. She hangs a small striped shirt. Noah's. She smooths the collar for a moment longer than it needs. "If I had told you," he starts. 7 years ago, she finishes. "Would you have stayed?" It isn't a question. She already knows the answer, which is somehow worse than asking. Jisoo opens his mouth. Closes it. Because the honest answer, the one that lives in his chest without mercy, is probably not. Probably he would have panicked. Probably he would have offered money and distance and a very sincere apology. Probably he would have convinced himself it was the responsible thing to do. "I wouldn't have been ready," he says finally. "No," says Leah. "You wouldn't have been." She picks up the laundry basket. "That was my answer 7 years ago, Jisoo. And I had to make mine alone." She walks inside without rushing. No drama. No tears. Just the screen door closing softly behind her like a period at the end of a sentence. Jisoo stands in the garden. A pair of Noah's socks are still on the laundry line, patterned with small yellow stars. He can't make himself look away from them. "Okay, I need to pause here and ask you something. Because I've been watching this story play out and I genuinely need to know, are you on Leah's side? Or do you think Jisoo deserves a chance to explain? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This is exactly why I want you here." The confrontation between Brian and Leah happens on a Tuesday. Brian finds Noah's birth certificate while searching for the apartment lease renewal documents in Leah's filing cabinet, where she has stored it for 7 years inside a manila folder labeled, with heartbreaking practicality, Noah, medical and legal. Father, not listed. Brian sits at the kitchen table for a long time with the document in front of him. When Leah comes home from her second job, she sees his face, and she sets her key down very carefully. "Who?" says Brian. She doesn't answer. "Leah." His voice is not angry. It is something much harder than anger. "Who is Noah's father?" She sits down across from him, and she tells him. Brian doesn't move for a full minute. His face works through things she doesn't have names for. She watches him process 7 years of her silence, 7 years of her working double shifts and eating small portions and telling everyone she was fine, and she sees the exact moment he realizes he was right there this whole time and he never knew. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asks. "Because you would have found him," she says. "And I needed to decide on my own what to do. Not what you wanted me to do. Not what he wanted. What I needed." Brian presses both hands flat against the table. "You should have had help. I had you. I had Noah. That was enough." It shouldn't have had to be enough. His voice breaks on the last word. Leah reaches across and covers his hands with hers. I'm okay, Brian. I know you're okay. That's not the point. Jisoo hears all of this from the hallway. He wasn't eavesdropping. He was going to the kitchen for water. But he hears Brian's voice and Leah's voice, and then he hears his own name, and his feet simply stop. He stands in the hallway for the entire conversation. When it ends and Leah goes upstairs and Brian sits alone at the table with his face in his hands, Jisoo walks away quietly back to the guest room. He sits on the edge of the bed. He has been in boardrooms where billion-dollar decisions were announced without the room flinching. He has faced hostile investors, government inquiries, coverage from journalists who wanted him to fail. He has handled all of it with the composure his family spent 30 years training into him. He cannot get the image of those yellow star socks out of his head. He couldn't answer Leah in the garden. He can answer her now. To himself. Honestly. No. He would not have stayed. Not then. Not that version of him. She made the decision she did because she knew him better than he knew himself. And she was right. He lies back on the bed and stares at the ceiling and understands for the first time in his adult life that the most painful kind of accountability is the kind you cannot argue with. But here is where everything shifts. Because Jisoo Kim, who has never in his life responded to guilt by actually changing, is about to do something no one expects. Not grand gestures. Not money. Not apologies. Something quieter than all of that. Something that Leah will notice before she can protect herself from it. We're only at the beginning. The next part of this story broke me, and I have a feeling it's going to break you too. Subscribe if you're still here. And stay. Because what Jisoo does next changes everything. The next morning Jisoo is in the kitchen at 6:15. Not asking for anything. Not announcing anything. He finds coffee beans in the cabinet, figures out the grinder, and has a full pot ready when Brian comes downstairs at 6:30 looking like a man who did not sleep. Brian stops in the kitchen doorway. Jisoo hands him a mug without speaking. Brian takes it. They sit at the table in silence for several minutes. I need you to know, Jisoo says finally, that I don't plan to make this worse. Brian looks at him over the rim of his mug. Define worse. I'm not going to show up with lawyers or money or try to take anything from her. I'm not going to make demands. He stops. Starts again. I want to know him. I want to earn that. If she decides I never get to, then that's fair. But I'd like the chance to try. Brian is quiet for a long time. She's the strongest person I know, Brian says. She did this whole thing without flinching and she never complained, not once, and it cost her things she's never told me about. So if you hurt her again. I know. No. Let me finish. If you hurt her again, Jisoo, I will be the end of every business relationship you have in this country. I know people. I've kept quiet about a lot of things. Don't test me. I know, Jisoo says again, and means it. Brian exhales. Wraps both hands around his mug. Noah has his routine. Don't disrupt it. Let him lead. Jisoo nods. Brian nods back. It is not forgiveness. It is an opening. The difference matters. What Jisoo does is so undramatic that it takes Leah 2 weeks to realize he's doing it deliberately. He fixes the loose porch railing on a Saturday morning without mentioning it. He sees the kitchen cabinet hinge is broken and replaces it while Noah is at school. He starts making dinner on the evenings Leah works late. Not elaborate meals, not the kind that announce effort, just food ready waiting. Pasta with simple sauce. Rice and vegetables. Brian's preferred leftovers preserved and labeled. Noah's lunchbox shows up packed correctly every Tuesday when Leah forgets because Tuesdays are her long shift days, and she has forgotten every Tuesday for 3 months. Jisoo says nothing about any of it. When Leah thanks him for the porch railing, he says, "It was bothering me," and goes back to reading. When she thanks him for dinner, he says, "Noah told me you liked this sauce," and turns back to the stove. It is infuriating. She would prefer grand gestures. Grand gestures are easier to dismiss. She knows how to roll her eyes at a bouquet of flowers or a reservation at a nice restaurant. She has no defense system for a man who quietly repacks Noah's backpack the right way, shoes in the front pocket, water bottle in the side, name tag on the outside, without being asked. Meanwhile, Noah has fully adopted Jisoo. It happens with the easy confidence of a child who simply decides something and has no idea that adults find it complicated. Jisoo walks him to school twice a week. They speak Korean on the way. Noah is learning, haltingly, delightedly, mispronouncing everything and laughing at himself. Jisoo corrects him with absolute patience, which is a quality that appears to have arrived in Jisoo sometime between 23 and 30 without announcement. At the school gate one Wednesday, a boy in Noah's class sees Jisoo and whispers something to a friend. The friend stares. Then they both look at Noah and look at Jisoo and then look at each other. Noah notices. He is a noticer. People think we look the same, Noah tells Jisoo on the walk home. Jisoo's jaw tightens just slightly. Do you think so? Noah tilts his head. Considers this with genuine seriousness. We have the same eyes. And you have the dimple on this side. He points to Jisoo's left cheek. I have it on this side too. He points to his own. Jisoo keeps walking. Is that weird? Noah asks. No, Jisoo says. It's not weird. Noah seems satisfied with this and moves on to explaining what he learned about Jupiter today, and Jisoo listens to all of it. But here's where it gets crazy. Ava Mitchell runs into Leah at the grocery store. Not accidentally. Ava does not do anything accidentally. She waits near the produce section with a basket over one arm and the expression of a woman who has thought carefully about what she's going to say. When Leah rounds the corner with her cart, Ava says simply, "Do you have 5 minutes?" Leah's cart stops. I'm not here to cause problems, Ava says. I promise you that. There is something disarmingly honest about the way she says it, so Leah leaves her cart by the apples and follows Ava to a cafe across the street. They sit across from each other with identical expressions of careful composure. I knew Jisoo in university, Ava says. I know who you are. Ava absorbs this. Then you know he and I were never serious. I want you to understand that I am not here on his behalf. He doesn't know I'm talking to you. Leah wraps her hands around her coffee cup. Says nothing. I've known Jisoo for almost 15 years, Ava continues. I watched him run from everything meaningful he ever had. Every relationship, every friendship, every opportunity to actually show up, he would get close and then he'd disappear. She pauses. He's not disappearing this time. I noticed, Leah says. I don't know what happened between you. He's never told me. But I've been watching him for the last 3 weeks and Ava stops herself, starts more carefully. He's different. Whatever he's trying to do here, I've never seen him try this hard at anything that wasn't a business deal. Leah looks out the window. Why are you telling me this? Ava's answer is slower in coming than everything else she's said. Because I spent 4 years waiting for Jisoo Kim to become someone worth waiting for. And I stopped waiting. She sets her coffee down. I just wanted someone to know that the waiting might actually be over. She leaves the cafe first. Leah sits alone for a long time. A waiter eventually comes to clear Ava's cup, and Leah realizes she's been staring at the same point on the wall, replaying 7 years of things she decided alone, measuring them against 3 weeks of a man who fixed her porch railing and made Tuesday dinner and taught her son Korean while walking him to school. She pays her bill. She goes back for her groceries. She does not tell Jisoo about the conversation. Pause. Because I have a question for you in the comments. Ava could have been the villain of this story. But she wasn't. What do you think that says about her? And what do you think it says about Jisoo? Tell me. What happens next begins with an ordinary Saturday and ends with something Leah never expected to see. It's a museum trip. Jisoo suggested it to Noah 2 weeks ago. Specifically the Natural History Museum, specifically the Planetary Science exhibit because of the ongoing Jupiter conversation. Noah has spoken of nothing else since. Leah sends them. She has inventory at work. She is back by 3. She expects them to come home around 4. At 4:15 she gets a photo from Brian, who apparently joined them. Noah pressed against a massive exhibit panel, gesturing at something with enormous enthusiasm. Jisoo crouched beside him at eye level, not hovering. Just there. Present. Actually looking where Noah is pointing. Brian's message underneath the photo says only. He stayed at every exhibit until Noah was ready to move. Never rushed him once. Leah puts her phone down. Picks it up again. Looks at the photo for a while. In every image she has stored in her mind of Jisoo from university, he is always the most interesting person in the room and he knows it. Commanding attention. Filling space. Laughing at his own jokes 3 seconds before anyone else does. The man crouching next to her son is listening. Fully. With both of his hands still at his sides and his full attention on a 7-year-old's monologue about planetary rings. She takes a screenshot. She's not entirely sure why. And that is where I'm going to stop. Right here, because what happens in the next 24 hours is the scene that changes the entire trajectory of this story. A blogger, a photograph, and a decision that cost Jisoo more than you can imagine. You are not walking away from this screen. I know it. You know it. Subscribe and come back for part 4. The photograph goes up on a Sunday. A lifestyle blogger who covers celebrity sightings posts it at noon, grainy, taken from across the museum parking lot, clearly someone's phone. Jisoo and Noah walking side by side. Gray eyes in common. Left cheek dimples in sync. The caption reads, Korea's most eligible billionaire doing the daddy stroll in America? Eyes, who's the mystery kid? By 4 o'clock it has been shared 6,000 times. By 8 o'clock a gossip outlet in Seoul picks it up with a full story that includes Jisoo's photo, Noah's blurred profile, and the headline, Kim Jisoo's secret American family? By 10 o'clock 2 journalists are standing outside Leah's workplace with cameras. She finds out when her co-worker calls her on her break. She drives home in 5 minutes flat. Jisoo is already at the table with his phone and Brian is pacing the kitchen and Noah is upstairs, thankfully unaware, in the middle of a drawing. I'm handling it, Jisoo says the moment Leah walks in. You're handling it. She sets her keys down. Her voice is controlled in the way that water is controlled behind a dam, held, not calm. There are photographers outside my job, Jisoo. I know. I'm sorry. They'll find Noah's school. They'll find his name. He's 7. He doesn't understand what a media cycle is. I know. Stop saying I know and tell me what you're going to do. Jisoo puts his phone down on the table. He looks at her directly. I'm going to make a statement, he says. I'll take the full story. I'll say that I made mistakes when I was younger and that I'm trying to correct them. I will not confirm any details about you or Noah. I'll say it's personal, I'll say Noah deserves privacy, and I'll shut the story down by not giving them a narrative to build. Leah stares at him. Your company's investors will panic. Yes. Your stock will drop. Probably. You'll lose money. Almost certainly. She has not blinked. You do that, she says. Not a question. Testing the shape of something she can't quite believe yet. Noah's life is not a headline, Jisoo says. Whatever this costs me is less than what it would cost him. He's a child. He doesn't get to choose whether the world is looking at him. I do get to choose what I give them to look at instead. The kitchen is very quiet. Brian has stopped pacing. Okay, Leah says finally. Jisoo makes the call. The statement goes out at 11 that night. Jisoo sits for a remote video interview with a Korean entertainment journalist he trusts and says calmly without flinching. He was a different man when he was younger. He handled some situations poorly. He is working to make them right. The people involved deserve privacy and he will not be discussing specifics. He apologizes to anyone he hurt in the past. He says it clearly. He says it once. He does not explain further or defend himself or spin it into something convenient. The stock drops 4% the next morning. 3 board members call before noon. His father's assistant calls at 2 with a message Jisoo doesn't open for 2 days. He handles all of it from Brian's kitchen table with a second cup of coffee, answering emails, taking the difficult calls without complaint. The journalists outside Leah's workplace disappear by Tuesday. No one ever finds out. The next few weeks settle into something that doesn't have a name yet. Leah watches Jisoo absorb the professional fallout without making it anyone else's problem. He doesn't become martyred about it. He doesn't drop it into conversation for sympathy. He just keeps doing what he was doing before the storm. Dinner on Tuesday, Korean lessons on the walk to school, model airplanes on Saturday mornings. One evening she comes home early to find him on the floor of the living room with Noah, surrounded by 300 pieces of what was previously an advanced model airplane kit. Noah has apparently been given this kit by Brian as a gift despite it being labeled ages 14+, which is extremely on brand for Brian's optimistic approach to child development. Jisoo has a look on his face that suggests the instruction manual is personally insulting him, but he is reading it carefully line by line, while Noah hands him pieces in the wrong order and Jisoo receives each one with perfect patience and reorganizes them without comment. You could just tell him it's too hard, Leah says from the doorway. It's not too hard, Jisoo says. He does not look up. It's just written by someone who hates people. Noah finds this devastatingly funny and laughs for approximately 45 seconds. Leah leans against the doorframe. It has been 7 years since she let herself look at Jisoo the way she used to look at him when she was 19 and helplessly in love and didn't know yet how expensive hope could be. She looks now. He is not the man she loved then. That man was a performance, charisma and charm and careful unavailability. This man assembles a 14-plus model airplane kit incorrectly on a Tuesday night because a 7-year-old handed him the wrong piece and he didn't want to embarrass him. This man she does not know how to protect herself from. Let me ask you something. In the comments, and I want honest answers, at what point do you think Leah started falling again? Because here's my theory, she never really stopped. She just learned to live around it. Tell me if you agree. She finds him asleep on the couch at midnight. Noah is curled against his side, face buried in Jisoo's sleeve, one hand still clutching the instruction manual. The model airplane, completed, somehow, against all odds, sits on the coffee table in a slightly asymmetrical but structurally sound shape. Jisoo's head has fallen toward Noah's. The lamp is still on. Leah stands in the doorway for a long moment. Then she goes to the closet, pulls out a blanket and spreads it over both of them. She straightens up. Jisoo's eyes open. Not startled, slowly. The way people wake when they weren't fully asleep. He looks at Noah first, then at her. He doesn't speak. She doesn't either. She turns off the lamp and goes upstairs and sits on the edge of her bed in the dark and breathes very carefully for several minutes. 7 years she spent building walls with good lumber. Strong walls. Practical walls. Walls that let sunlight in but kept the drafts out. She has been very proud of those walls. Something is very wrong with the structural integrity of those walls. Brian sees it before anyone admits it. He finds Leah in the kitchen the next morning and says without preamble, "You could just tell him." Leah pours her coffee. Tell who what? Brian gives her the expression he has given her since she was 12 years old when she is being deliberately obtuse. He looks at you like you hung the actual moon. You know that. He's grateful. He's being... Leah. She stops. He's not grateful, Brian says. Grateful people say thank you and move on. That man is here every day building model airplanes and learning Tuesday's dinner schedule by heart. He asked me what your favorite kind of tea is. He went to 3 different stores to find it. She looks at her coffee. I know, she says quietly. So what are you scared of? The answer she gives is honest and it costs her. That he's the same person who made me feel like his best friend's little sister in front of a stranger. And that I'll forget that the moment he's kind to me. Brian is quiet for a moment. People can change, he says. I know they can. She finally... I just want to see all of it before I believe it. And that is exactly when fate, which has terrible timing and zero chill, throws the whole story sideways. Because Jisoo is about to make a decision that costs him everything he's rebuilt in his professional life. And when Leah finds out what he gave up and why, it breaks the last wall she had. But Noah gets sick first. And what happens in that hospital will bring this story to its knees. It starts like all frightening things do, with something small. Noah wakes on a Thursday morning with a cough. The kind that sounds like it's caught in his chest, not his throat. He eats half his breakfast, which is unusual. He doesn't want to hear about Jupiter at breakfast, which is so deeply unusual that Leah takes his temperature twice. 101. She keeps him home. She calls in late to work. She makes him soup and sets him up on the couch with a blanket and the stack of library books he hasn't opened yet, and by noon he is asleep in the middle of the afternoon, which Noah almost never does. By Friday his temperature is 103. By Saturday morning, Leah is in the emergency room. Pneumonia. Bilateral. The doctor explains it calmly, which is what doctors do when they are trying not to frighten someone who is already frightened. Leah listens to everything and nods in all the right places and thanks the nurse and then sits beside Noah's hospital bed and holds his hand and does not cry, because she has promised herself that she will not cry where Noah can see. She calls Brian. Brian drives down immediately, arriving in 2 hours despite living 45 minutes away. She does not call Jisoo. Jisoo finds out from Brian's brief, strained text message at 9 o'clock on Saturday evening. Noah's in hospital. Pneumonia. He's stable. Leah's with him. Jisoo is in the middle of a call with Seoul. He ends it. He is in a hired car within 7 minutes. He does not tell Leah he is coming because he suspects, correctly, that she would say it's unnecessary. And he is not coming because it is necessary. He is coming because he cannot be anywhere else. He arrives at the hospital at 10:30 and finds Leah in the corridor outside Noah's room, standing with a coffee cup she isn't drinking, her coat still on, her eyes doing the thing where they're open but looking at something nobody else can see. She hears his footsteps and turns. The expression that crosses her face is complicated. Relief and resistance arriving at the same moment, unable to decide which one to send first. You didn't need to. I know, he says. He sits down in the chair beside her. Neither of them talks for a while. The hospital hums around them, distant cart wheels, intercoms, the particular fluorescent quiet of a place that doesn't sleep. Leah eventually sits in the chair on the other side of the corridor door. Jisoo doesn't move his chair closer. He just stays. It is the most useful thing he has ever done. For 3 days he doesn't leave. He sleeps in the chair beside Noah's bed when the nurses allow it, which they eventually do because there is something about the way he positions himself, always slightly angled toward Noah, one hand close to the bed rail without touching, that makes them understand he is not a visitor in the casual sense. He reads to Noah from the stack of library books Leah brought. He reads about black holes. He reads about Jupiter's moons. He reads a chapter about ancient Korean cartography which is genuinely complicated and which Noah listens to with closed eyes and the faint expression of someone very engaged. On the second night, Leah goes home to shower and sleep for 6 hours and Jisoo stays. He is reading by lamplight when Noah stirs around 2 in the morning. Mr. Jisoo? Hey. Jisoo sets the book down. I'm here. Noah blinks at the ceiling. His voice is scratchy and small. Are you staying? Yeah. I'm staying. Noah moves his hand on the blanket, not quite reaching, just moving. Jisoo covers it gently with his own. Mom gets scared when I'm sick, Noah says. She doesn't show it but I can tell. How? She stirs her tea too long. Noah closes his eyes again. She only does that when she's scared. Jisoo sits very still. A 7-year-old who notices his mother stirs her tea too long when she's frightened. Leah's child completely. Down to the noticing. Is she okay? Noah asks. She's resting. She'll be back in the morning. Okay. Pause. I'm glad you're here. Jesus' throat tightens in a way he has not experienced since he was a child and didn't have language for it. Me too, buddy, he says. Me too. Noah is quiet for a moment. Then, in that frank and fearless way of his, I wish you were my dad. The room goes absolutely still. Jisoo doesn't answer immediately. Not because he doesn't have an answer, but because the answer is so large and so long overdue that he needs a moment to trust his own voice with it. Yeah, he manages. Yeah. Noah's eyes are closed again. Almost asleep. You would be good at it. Jisoo doesn't speak again. He sits with Noah's hand under his until the boy's breathing evens into sleep, and then he stays in the chair and looks at the ceiling until morning comes. Leah walks in at 6:15 with breakfast from the cafe down the street. She stops in the doorway. Jisoo is asleep in the chair with his jacket pulled up and his head at an angle that will absolutely hurt when he wakes up. Noah is still sleeping. Their hands are no longer touching. At some point in the night they separated, but Jisoo is still angled toward him. Still, even asleep, slightly turned in that direction. She stands there for a long time. She has loved this man twice now. She knows exactly what both versions feel like. The first version was electric and devastating. A bright light she couldn't stop looking at even knowing it would hurt her eyes. This version is something quieter and more permanent. The kind of thing that builds roots without asking. She puts the breakfast on the side table without waking either of them. She sits down in the corridor chair. And she cries. Not loudly. Not dramatically. The kind of crying that is more like something finally releasing. A held breath, a dropped weight. Something that has been stored too long let go. By the time Jisoo stirs and comes out looking for her, his jacket rumpled and his hair at an angle, she has composed herself entirely. He hands her a coffee without asking. She takes it. How's the neck? She asks. He rolls it experimentally. Winces. Architectural disaster. She almost smiles. Jisoo. Yeah. She looks at her coffee. You didn't have to stay. You could have just sent. You didn't have to stay. I know. Stop saying I know. Sorry. He leans against the wall, looks at her. I wanted to be here. I wanted him to wake up and know someone was there. That's it. She doesn't say anything for a moment. He told me last night, Jisoo says quietly, that he wishes I were his dad. She looks at him. He holds her gaze. I know what I am to him legally, Jisoo says. And I know I haven't earned anything. I know the schedule of what I owe is longer than anything I could pay back quickly. But I want to try. Not because he said that. Because I would have wanted to try anyway. He pauses. I just thought you should know he said it. Leah's hands tighten around her coffee cup. He told me, she says after a moment, that I stir my tea too long when I'm scared. Jisoo blinks. He notices everything, she says. He got that from, she stops. They both know the end of that sentence. I need to ask you something, in the comments. Because this moment right here, this hospital corridor at 6 in the morning, do you think this is when Leah forgives him? Or do you think forgiveness is something she's been doing slowly without realizing it? Tell me. I need to know what you think. And, I have to ask, would you want to hear more of this story? An extended version maybe? A deeper version? Something you could sit with for longer? Just drop it in the comments. Because I might have something for those of you who want to go deeper. Noah comes home 5 days later. He walks out of the hospital holding both Jisoo's hand and Leah's hand and swinging between them on the sidewalk with the cheerful obliviousness of someone who has no idea he just rearranged 3 people's lives. Brian is at the house with Soup. The 4 of them sit at the table together. Noah tells Brian everything about the hospital in elaborate detail, including a story about a nurse who brought him extra pudding cups, which he describes as the best thing that's ever happened to me. Jisoo laughs. Leah watches him laugh. She doesn't look away this time. We are almost at the end. And I promise you, what Jisoo does in the final part and what Leah says under those cherry blossoms will stay with you longer than this video does. Stay. Jisoo stays in America. Not for a week. Not for a month, with a return ticket sitting in his phone like an exit plan. He calls his company's operations team and restructures his schedule. Some things are handled remotely, some things can wait. A few things are handled by people Jisoo has been meaning to trust more and simply never got around to trusting. He finds a short-term rental 12 minutes from Brian's house. He tells no one this is permanent. He doesn't use that word. He simply unpacks. The first time Leah comes to the apartment, it's to return his jacket. The one he left at the house 3 weeks ago, which she's washed and folded and carried around in her car for 10 days before finally driving over. She's not staying. She knocks. He opens the door. She holds out the jacket. He takes it, looks at her. Do you want tea? I have to get back. 5 minutes, he says. Not pressure. Just an opening. She comes in. She has not been alone with him since the hospital corridor. She has not had to face the specific quality of silence he creates around himself. Not empty silence, but the kind that is actually comfortable, the kind that doesn't demand anything from you. He makes tea. She looks at his apartment. There are 3 model airplanes on the windowsill that she recognizes. He's brought them from Brian's house, apparently. They're arranged by wingspan. There are 2 books on the table. One on Korean architecture history and one on planetary science that is clearly, unmistakably Noah's because it has a construction paper bookmark decorated with small stickers. Jisoo sets the tea in front of her and sits across the table. She wraps her hands around the cup. You went to 3 stores for my tea, she says. He doesn't look embarrassed. Just honest. Brian told me. Brian tells everyone everything. He said you've been drinking the wrong brand for years because the right one is hard to find. She looks at the cup. It's the right one. She hasn't had this tea in almost a year. She takes a sip. For a moment she doesn't say anything. Then, Jisoo, what are you actually doing here? He considers this. Not evasively. Genuinely. Learning ordinary life. She looks up. School runs, he says. Laundry. Birthday parties. The parent meeting last Thursday where someone spent 45 minutes debating the fundraiser theme. He pauses. I've never done any of it before. I want to. Because of Noah. Because of Noah, he agrees. Then, and because of you. Leah sets down her cup. I'm not going to ask you to forgive me for 7 years ago, Jisoo says carefully. I don't think forgiveness is something you owe me. I think it's something I have to deserve to be in the presence of, slowly, over time. So I'm not asking. He looks at her directly. I'm just telling you that I would like to spend that time here. Close. Learning who you both are. If you'll let me. Leah looks at him for a long moment. The Jisoo she loved at 19 would have said something beautiful and half-true and charming enough to make her ignore the half-truth. This Jisoo says the uncomfortable thing precisely and then stops, which is infinitely more dangerous. I'll let you, she says. But I'm watching. He nods. I know. She picks up her tea. They sit together in the quiet apartment with the model airplanes on the windowsill for another 30 minutes, talking about nothing in particular. Noah's upcoming school project, Brian's physical therapy for his shoulder, a documentary Jisoo watched twice, and when she leaves she walks to her car and sits for a moment with her hands on the steering wheel. She is smiling. She doesn't stop herself. The months that follow are the quietest and most complete of Jisoo's adult life. He learns things he was never taught. He learns that the parent volunteer list for Noah's class is always desperate for help and that showing up at 7:30 on a Tuesday morning to cut fruit for a class party earns more trust from Noah's teacher than any donation ever could. He learns that Noah likes his eggs scrambled but not runny, that he hates the sound of balloons being rubbed together, that he is afraid of deep water but will never admit it. He learns that Leah sings while washing up at night, quietly, to songs that are years out of date, and that she stops when she realizes someone can hear her. So he learns to make himself audible before he reaches the kitchen. He learns that love is architecture, not weather. It doesn't just arrive and change the temperature. It is built piece by piece from chosen actions, and it either holds weight or it doesn't. He is building it so carefully it almost hurts. Leah, for her part, falls in love the way she grew up, not quickly and not without cost. It happens in Tuesday dinners and school mornings and accidental touches in the kitchen doorway. It happens when she watches Jisoo sit on the floor with Brian after Brian's shoulder surgery and they watch an old game neither of them cares about because Brian is frustrated and bored and Jisoo simply shows up. It happens when Noah runs to Jisoo across the park and Jisoo catches him without thinking, the way you catch things that are yours. It happens. One Saturday in late spring, Noah finds a shoebox in the closet. Leah's old photos. University ones. Brian young and scowling. Bad haircuts. The narrow apartment kitchen. And there, toward the back, a photograph of Jisoo that she never threw away though she tried. University Jisoo. 23. That long-ago version of someone she loved before she knew any better. Noah carries it downstairs and puts it in front of Jisoo at the breakfast table. Jisoo picks it up. His face does something private. Noah tilts his head and looks between the photo and Jisoo's face with that scientific seriousness he brings to all his observations. You looked like me, he says. Jisoo looks at him. People used to say that, Jisoo says. His voice is steady. His eyes are not quite. Noah takes the photo back, studies it, then sets it down and picks up his toast like the matter is fully settled. I think you looked better as a kid, he says. Jisoo laughs. The real kind, the stomach kind, the kind that fills the kitchen entirely. Leah, at the stove, turns her face away so neither of them sees her expression. Let me stop here for just a second because I promised myself I'd ask you this. Do you think you could forgive someone who hurt you badly if you watched them become the person you always believed they could be? I genuinely want to know. Drop it in the comments. That conversation is going to be incredible. It's a Sunday in April. The cherry blossom trees on the path behind Brian's house are doing that thing they do every year, that brief, excessive, almost theatrical display, petals loose in the wind like they know exactly how little time they have and have decided to be extraordinary about it. Noah has been given specific instructions to stay with Brian for 1 hour while certain adults have a conversation, a request Noah accepted in exchange for being allowed to choose tonight's dinner. He chose spaghetti bolognese. Brian accepted without argument. Leah and Jisoo walk the path. It is neither dramatic nor composed. It is two people walking. Hands occasionally close but not quite touching. The kind of proximity that's made of a long history of almost. Jisoo speaks first. I don't want to keep being the person I was when I was 23. Leah walks. Listens. I don't mean I want to pretend it didn't happen. I mean I would like to stop paying for it with distance. With holding back. With, he stops walking. She stops too. He looks at her. The cherry blossoms go overhead in a slow, extravagant exhale. Can we stop living for the people we used to be? Leah looks at him. This man who drove 12 minutes away instead of flying home. Who woke up in a hospital chair. Who read about Jupiter's moons for 3 nights to a sick 7-year-old? Who gave up billions of dollars to protect her son's name and didn't mention it once? Who went to 3 stores for the right tea? I've been waiting, she says slowly, for us to become these people. Jisoo takes her hand. I love you, Leah. I was young and stupid when I left you all and said all those nonsense. I was just scared. I didn't think I could give you what you wanted, and every time I remember it, I realize how stupid I was. Leah's eyes were wet with tears. Not dramatically. Not the way it happens in scenes written for effect. Just her hand in his fingers closing around hers. Then his hand traveled to her face as if waiting for her permission. He leaned in and kissed her. Like something returning to where it was always supposed to be. The petals come down around them. Noah, who has absolutely not stayed with Brian and is absolutely crouched behind the garden fence watching, says nothing. He turns to Brian with enormous satisfaction and says, I knew it. And Brian, who is also watching, says, so did I, and they high-five very quietly so nobody hears them. A year later, Jisoo is not on a stage at a gala or closing a deal in Seoul. He is at the community center on Tuesday mornings, washing dishes beside Leah, beside Brian who has his shoulder back and his volume fully restored, beside Noah who carries boxes and takes his work seriously. No cameras. No announcement. No press releases. Just 4 people with soap-wet hands and the sound of other people's gratitude, giving back in the specific way Leah has given back for years. Quietly, consistently, without needing anyone to notice. Jisoo washes a pot. Noah dries it. You're slow, Noah tells him. I'm thorough, Jisoo says. Same thing. Noah hands the pot back. Do it again. Leah, 3 feet away, bites the inside of her cheek to keep from laughing. Jisoo washes the pot again. It is the greatest thing he has ever accomplished. Because here is the truth that this story has been building toward, 1 Tuesday dinner and 1 school morning and 1 hospital chair at a time. The greatest thing Jisoo passes to his son is not his name or his money or his gray eyes. It is the example of a man who looked at the wreckage of his own choices, at 7 years of damage and distance and a little boy who grew up without him, and chose, without grand gestures or dramatic redemption arcs, to become someone worth staying for. People who choose kindness every single day, in the small undramatic ways, the fixed railings, the right tea, the pot washed twice, can rewrite even the saddest chapters of their lives. Noah already knows this. He learned it the way all important things are learned, not from a speech but from watching. And that is the boy with his eyes. Thank you for staying until the very end. I mean that. If you made it here, you are exactly the kind of person I made this channel for. Someone who shows up for the whole story, not just the good parts. If this story moved you even a little, please like this video. It tells the algorithm this story matters, and it helps me reach more people who need it. Subscribe if you haven't, because I have more stories coming, stories that will make you feel things in places you forgot you had feelings. And here's my last question for you today in the comments. Which moment hit you the hardest? The hospital? The porch railing? The cherry blossoms? Or, and I'm genuinely curious, was it Noah drying that pot and telling Jisoo to do it again? Tell me. And one more thing, if you found yourself wanting more of Jisoo and Leah, more depth, more of Noah and Brian and everything that happened in between the scenes I didn't show you, I hear you. There may be a longer version of this story waiting for you. Drop extended in the comments and let me know. I'm watching. I'll see you in the next one.